Good evening and welcome to Green White Checker TV's presentation of the Area 51 NextGen Cup Series. This is the hot shoe himself, Nick Chambro, and I'll be covering all of today's action from the beautiful Atlanta Motor Speedway, a track that has been in NASCAR for a very long time, since the 1960s. At that time, it was a traditional style oval in a 1.5 mile configuration, 2 long straightaways, 2 big sweeping corners, until it was updated to the current D-shaped oval that we find here with 2 dog legs on the front stretch. This track today is the old Atlanta style speedway, the old worn out asphalt. You can get nice and high up against the wall. We may see some drivers try to run that line this evening as we approach just about 30 seconds left in our time trial session. Drivers in green on our broadcasts, as you see on the left-hand side, they'll be in the green color, are our playoff contenders, 8 of them in our field. We'll take a look at our point standings to see what our point standings currently look like with just 3 races left to decide our champion. Currently, Isaiah Sutherland leads the championship series by 6 points over his teammate Kyle Heath, with Maxwell Caldwell in 3rd position, just 9 points off of the current lead. Gary Silipinski right behind them, with Mark Brown, Mike Peters, Todd Merkel, and John Held round out our top 8 playoff field. After tonight's race, there are just 2 races left. Drivers will take a break for the 4th of July holiday next Monday night, followed by 2 races left to decide the championship. So going to be interesting to see, can Maxwell Caldwell get a win? He's usually pretty strong and dominant on these 1.5 mile ovals. Kyle Heath took a win, very similar track at Texas Motor Speedway on the last corner from Maxwell Caldwell. Isaiah Sutherland going to try to get a 4th victory on the year. Gary Silipinski, a driver who's still trying to get his first victory. So a lot to play for here, a lot of action to watch. One driver's already making their way out to the track for qualifying. Chris Jabou in the Exalta number 83. Beautiful looking, sharp looking Exalta paint scheme there. Lots of colors involved, kind of that monochromatic type of paint scheme that we see. Sharp looking ride as the 83 car comes and takes the green flag for his qualifying run. Now, Chris Jabou, a driver not in the playoffs, but a driver who has ran up front and won the last time he was out with us at a similar track to what we're seeing today. So, got to keep an eye on him. We'll take a look at his lap time this time by to see what type of lap times he lays down. Moves up to 2nd on the boards right now. Gary Silipinski, currently our fast timer. We'll take a look at Gary come around for his qualifying run. Silipinski, as mentioned at the top of the show, trying to get his first win on the season. Unable to do it right now. Let's see, though, can he continue? And his lap time a little bit quicker yet, 30.81. That's the fastest time on the board by about almost 0.2 of a second over Isaiah Sutherland. Sutherland coming around for his qualifying lap. He's running a little bit of an interesting line there, a little bit higher the board as he starts to woe it down. Kyle Heath also just jumped up to 2nd position on their timing boards. Waiting to see who is next to make their way out. Ryan Kelly looks like he has made his way out onto the speedway. Ryan Kelly, a driver who he just set the 2nd fastest time there. Puts it right in behind Gary Silipinski in the 78. Ryan Kelly, a driver who close to winning a couple races. They slaps the wall, but unfortunately, that lap's not going to be too quick for him. but luckily still second on our timing board. Got about 2 minutes left of our qualifying session. Josh Yarborough looks like he's making his way out onto the speedway. The number 77 Toyota Camry. Good strong run out of Yarborough of recent. Oh, and he's actually pulling it down pit lane. Kyle Brooks happy to have the Extra Life Ford Mustang with us today in the number 71. Kyle Brooks currently 13 quick on the board. Jumps up to P2. Slots in behind Gary Silipinski. So going to be maybe a front row starting position for Kyle Brooks. Here's Maxwell Caldwell in the Oreo Chevy Camaro. Maxwell, big, strong championship contender, the real heavyweight defending champion from last season with the Area 51 Next Gen Cup Series. Is he going to be able to get it done again tonight? That's going to be something to keep an eye on for. Caldwell pretty fast in this as he comes by, ready for his first lap here. Where was Caldwell slot in? Up to 10th position for Maxwell Caldwell. So maybe not the strongest lap that he was looking for. And he's going to woe it down, pull down the pit lane. Looks like Mike Peters, one of our other championship contenders, is out here for a qualifying run. Currently 13th on the board. And just about 15 seconds left of this qualifying run. The Raising Cane's Repairify. Awesome Pizza Shop, number 95. Mike Peters, we saw him have a couple strong runs earlier in the season. And he's going to woe it down as well. Going to slot in 13th on the board. As our qualifying session is approaching the end. And we are going to start getting geared up and ready for our 100 lap feature event. 100 laps on the docket for tonight. Drivers can go approximately 44 laps on one tank of fuel. It's something that we'll keep an eye on throughout the night, checking in with that pit strategy. So gonna need to make, right now it looks like a 2-stop race for all of our drivers. So I would expect 2 pit stops to take place. We'll see if that rings true. As drivers starting to get lined up here, let's take a look at our starting grid. Starting on the pole, we have the number 78 out of New Jersey. That's Gary Silipinski, trying to get his first win on the season. Kyle Brooks will start from second spot. In the number 71, Ryan Kelly, a strong contender out of New York State. Number 13 car starts from third, and Kyle Heath trying to pick up another 1.5 mile oval win. In the number 54, starts from fourth. Championship contender and current points leader, Isaiah Sutherland, starts from fifth position. Joseph Grijalva will start in the number 6 position in the 47 car. Chris Jabu, Charlotte Motor Speedway winner, starts from 7th. And Todd Merkel in the number 2 starts in 8th. John Held, after missing last week, will start at 9th. Maxwell Caldwell, currently 3rd place in the points, will start from the 10th position. Jeff Gilmore and Mark Brown will round out row number 6. Mike Peters and John Boris will start from row 7. Josh Yarborough and Robert Jordan will start from the 16th position. Row 9 will be made up of Joseph Morales and James Ledford. Jason Adams and John Henderson and the Triple Ones car will start from 20th. Dave Bingle starts from 21st, and Joseph DeCiro will start from our 22nd and final starting position. Drivers beginning to make their way now around for our one and only pace lap here. Good field of 22 cars. Looks like 20 cars have made the call here with the Area 51 Next Gen Cup Series. Beautiful day, beautiful afternoon here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. This track, very warm, should provide for a lot of tire fall off. We're looking about 2 to 2.5 seconds of tire fall off according to our reports from our drivers. So quite a large amount of tire fall off, going to be something our drivers are going to need to contend with all evening. We'll see what kind of factor that plays with all of our racers. So to set the scene here, playoff cars will be highlighted in green on our ticker and our timing tower. Gary Silipinski, Kyle Heath up there in the first 2 rows. Isaiah Sutherland in row 3. Todd Merkel, Maxwell Caldwell, John Held, Mark Brown, Mike Peters, our championship contenders. Pace car pulling off. And ladies and gentlemen, fans of all ages, it's showtime on Hot Shoe TV. The race up front right now looks like we got Gary Silipinski starting to stretch his legs out a little bit. Ryan Kelly slots in the second. Isaiah Sutherland in third. Kyle Heath in fourth. Chris Jabu in fifth. Gael Brooks, second place starter, lost a lot of positions on that start. You may have seen him slipping back in the number 71. He was up high. Slipped all the way back to 13th position as we come around and complete lap 2. So championship contender Gary Silipinski, no wins on the season, out to the early lead. Ryan Kelly, then a Dynaco Chevy Camaro, number 13, closing up the gap, however. We saw this on a lot of our 1.5 mile tracks. A little bit of a push for Ryan Kelly as Isaiah Sutherland in the Sutherland Used Cars. Virtual Academy, number 1, able to get on inside of him. Kyle Heath thinking the same thing in the Me Marie Designs Logitech, number 54, sticking his nose in. Kelly caught on the high side right now. Can he get it working up there? Now Chris Jabu is putting his nose in, and so is Joseph Grijalva. Grijalva, some tough luck in the most recent weeks. Unfortunately, having some computer technology issues. He was leading a race a few weeks ago, and his connection dropped out. Now he's up to 6th position. Is up ahead. Gary Silipinski leads over Isaiah Sutherland and Kyle Heath. Championship contenders in the top 3 positions. But Chris Jabu, he might have something to say about that very, very soon as he's approaching the rear bumper of Kyle Heath. Again, championship contenders will be highlighted in green like you see right now scrolling through. Maxwell Caldwell, Mark Brown in 8th, Mike Peters in 9th, Todd Merkel in 10th. Those are all of our championship contenders highlighted in green. The driver we're watching right now, though, Chris Jabu, not part of that championship battle, but nonetheless, he's going to battle hard for that victory. His top 5 cars, top 6 cars, just about under a blanket. At the completion of lap 6, the draft is going to come into play a little bit here with these drivers, especially at this 1.5 mile track. We see it with these next-gen cars. We can almost see how they are just lined up here down the backstretch. Nose to tail. Nobody really be able to gain an advantage on one another. It may take a mistake or tire wear for drivers to really get side by side, as we see Mike Peters way out wide. Going to slip up and lose a couple spots there. Maybe too early for that kind of maneuver, as him and Maxwell Caldwell are racing out. This is for 8th and 9th position that we're watching. Mike Peters and Gary Silipinski. As Peters again trying to get that high line to come in. Right now not working out for him, though. Lost a couple spots on that exchange. He gained a few, actually 5 spots from his qualifying run. But still, a little bit of a slip up there. All of our drivers appear to be nose to tail for about the top 10 positions here. Look at them there as we watch our trackside cam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Just about everybody single file in line right now. No one wants to get out of order and try to make a pass because you may get freight trained right on by. It's kind of a smart move for these guys. Like Gary Silipinski up there in lead, as we do have a battle here, though. There's Mark Brown and Mike Peters getting a little bit racy. Mark Brown in the all-black number 73, one of our championship contenders. Mike Peters as well. These drivers are going to need a good result tonight to keep their names in the picture for who will eventually be our Area 51 Season 2 2022 champion. 12-race series here. Reset with 4 races to go for the playoffs, as now Mike Peters really working hard to get that high line working. and rolling, but every time he does, drivers slip on by him on the inside. We see that again right here. There's Maxwell Caldwell in the Oreos number 94. A little far back from Maxwell than we would normally expect him to be running. Usually we see Maxwell up there in the top 5 battling. He may work his way up there by the end of the race. Long ways to go, but right now, Maxwell Caldwell not where he wants to be, especially with only 2 races left after tonight. We'll take a look back up front. Drivers still single file for the top 5, 6, 7, 8 positions. Gary Silipinski leads. Isaiah Sutherland right behind him, followed by Kyle Heath in the 54. Maxwell Caldwell now going to get on the inside of Mark Brown. This will be for the 7th and 8th position. Caldwell has the bottom line, has the advantage right now. Slips on by Mark Brown. Up to P7. We'll see if he can continue marching through the field. A little bit of a gap now, about 8-9 tenths of a second gap between this current battle that we're watching and Ryan Kelly up ahead. Ryan Kelly right at the tail end of our leaders. The lead pack here, top 6, all separated by about 2 tenths of a second. Then this 8 tenths of a second gap between Ryan Kelly and Maxwell Caldwell. We'll watch it here. There's the gap. You can see our top 6 have slightly broken away. John Borst looks like the Borstinator, going to put his nose in the picture. Getting a little racy here with Gael Brooks in the 71. Todd Merkel and Mike Peters up ahead battling. Ooh, Mike Peters slides up the track a little bit. Merkel able to stay off him. Has to get out of the gas pedal. And there goes Mike Peters, and John Held with a big move on the inside. Thought about making it 3 wide. Didn't have to. Drove it in hard on the inside in that Toyota Castrol TRD Toyota Camry. Held missed last week. Going to take him out of the championship picture. But with a win tonight, he may be able to make that up. So we'll keep an eye on him. This is back for 9th and 10th position. Oh, and he almost gets in the back of John Held there. We just saw that on camera. Mike Peters drove it in hard into the corner. Almost scrapes the back as Peters may have touched the wall there. Gael Brooks now on the inside. Here comes John Borst with a big run on the outside of Todd Merkel. Nowhere to go with it, though, as Mike Peters has his car parked there. So side by side here. This is for around the 10th position. Good battle so far. We got Mark Brown, Gael Brooks, Mike Peters, John Borst, Todd Merkel, all racing nose to tail here. Again, around the 10th position is what we're looking at. Still side by side here. John Borst in the 86, Nick and Nicky's Ice Cream, Dizzy Coin, DZ Cola, Dizzy Energy Drink, number 86. Streaks ahead of Todd Merkel. That might open up the door, though. That's Jeff Gilmore and Joshua Yarborough starting to put their faces into the contention. A little further up front, Mark Brown, Gael Brooks, Mike Peters. Just about 3 wide in the turns 1 and 2. Up front, field staying pretty much level. Gary Silipinski, Isaiah Sutherland, Kyle Heath, Ryan Kelly, Chris Jabot, Joseph Grijalva, top 6 in the breakaway. Maxwell Caldwell about 1.5 seconds now. Maxwell starting to lose some time off of that as we watch Gael Brooks and Mark Brown side by side for the 8th and 9th position here. Sorry, 9th and 10th position. Mike Peters looking for a way to go through, but when the track is blocked, just nowhere to put your nose. Now we might have an advantage here. Mark Brown has cleared Gael Brooks. Josh Yarborough runs it all the way up to the wall, puts it into the wall a little bit, gets a big run there, but nowhere to go with John Borst blocking the track. That's going to be the tough thing about running that far outside line. You may get a big run off the corner, but if there's nowhere to go with it, you're going to be kind of stuck. Here's Yarborough now on the outside. Can he get alongside Borst? And he does. He's going to have a big run down the front stretch now. Good battle that we're seeing here among 5 or 6 cars. Mark Brown, Mike Peters, Gael Brooks, Josh Yarborough, John Borst, Jeff Gilmore, all right here. Todd Merkel also in the picture. John Borst going to throw his nose in there on the inside of the 57. Mike Peters, Mark Brown still side by side here for this spot. We saw Gael Brooks alongside Mike Brown earlier. Now Mike Peters, there's the guys running double file. Now this is a very exciting battle to watch for us up here in the tooth. Down the backstretch, they look like they're on the qualifying warm-up lap there, running side by side. Top few cars really have started to break away. But look at this mess. Mike Peters, Mark Brown, Josh Yarborough, Gael Brooks. A little bit of everybody involved in this one. Front, Silipinski leads over Sutherland. They got about a second lead over Keith, Kelly, Jabot, Grijalva, and Caldwell. Then we get to this battle. John Held's kind of in the middle of all this. And this group's starting to catch John Held a little bit. Going to be something to keep an eye on here as we go aboard our drone cam and watch our battle. Mike Peters has opened up a gap a little bit to this group. You see him up front. Yarborough and Peters have streaked ahead of this conglomerate. A little further, here's a good battle between Grijalva and Maxwell Caldwell. Caldwell really had to get out of the gas there, it appeared. Really backed off. And that's going to allow Grijalva to streak ahead. John Held, they're starting to catch Chris Jabot as well. Leaders, again, streaked pretty far ahead. Sutherland and Heath just maintaining behind Gary Silipinski right now. As we go aboard, we're going to go aboard here. This is Maxwell Caldwell. Number 94. We see the leaders way out in front at the end of the straightaway. So Caldwell still staying within sniffing distance of them. Good onboard shot here as Caldwell starting to catch Grijalva. You can really hear him pedal it out of the throttle. Kind of waiting to pick up the gas. This is aboard Maxwell Caldwell in the number 94. Beautiful looking 94 cars. We're going to take a look at our leaders now. Gary Silipinski has led all 23 laps so far in the Furniture Row. Cone Police Ford Mustang. Isaiah Sutherland sits in second place in the number 1. As we look back a little bit further through the field here, we'll take a look. Gary Silipinski, our current leader. Beautiful looking number 78, trying to get his first win on the season. Isaiah Sutherland sits in second position. He's in the number 1 Sutherland Used Cars Virtual Academy car, current points leader on the day of the series, with Kyle Heath right on his rear bumper in the Me Marie Designs number 54. These drivers all staying in touch, but they've opened up about a second gap to Ryan Kelly in the Dynaco number 13. Kelly falling off by about a second and a quarter so far, but he's about 2 seconds up on our 5th place contender, the Exalta, HendrickCars.com, Chevy Camaro, the number 83, Kitty Cat Chris Jaboo. Joseph Grijalva right on the rear bumper of Chris Jaboo in 6th position in the 47 Ford Performance Motorcraft Ford Mustang GT. Grijalva trying to get his first win of the season after heartbreak earlier in the year. Maxwell Caldwell about 0.3 of a second off of him in the Oreos Chevy Camaro. Caldwell, usually one of our front runners, currently sits in 7th. Does he have time? 74 laps to go to get up front. Is John Held beginning to make a move on the inside of Caldwell? Could this be a case of Maxwell Caldwell's tires falling off as John Held in the Castrol TRD Toyota Camry, trying to stretch his legs and sneak ahead of Maxwell Caldwell, unable to do so in this corner, however. Slight contact, maybe. No, almost contact there between Held and Caldwell. Great battle to keep our eyes on right now. Watching these two now. We're going to put a pause through the field as we watch this battle up front. Everybody's kind of holding steady in positions. Caldwell able to streak ahead again on the top side. Mike Peters, about 0.7 of a second off this gap, but closing quickly in the Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, Awesome Pizza Shop, Repairify, One Guard, Ford Mustang. Mike Peters, championship contender, currently sits in 9th. Josh Yarbrough, strong run for Yarbrough tonight, sits in 10th spot in the Toyota Camry number 77. With Kyle Brooks, started P2, lost a lot of time on the first lap in that beautiful Extra Life Ford Mustang, sits in 11th. Jeff Gilmore in the Jerky Pros, number 57, starting to make his way back up front. Started 11th, currently sits in 12th. Mark Brown in the sponsor list, number 73, sits in 13th. Championship contender Mark Brown needs a stronger run. We'll see if he's able to pick it up in the second portion of the race. John Boris in the Dizzy Coin, DZ Cola, Nick and Nicky's Ice Cream, Dizzy Energy Drink, Toyota Camry pulls it off of the track. We just caught that. John Boris coming to pit lane. First car to make his way onto the pit lane. Interesting strategy here for John Boris. Now, 44 laps on the tank at gas, give or take. John Boris coming down pit lane on lap 29. So he's probably splitting this up to pit on lap 30. Lap 60, then drive it to the end. Excellent stop for John Boris. He will go a lap down here, but that's going to be something we'll keep an eye on as we take a look back through the field now. With that, Todd Merkel is going to take over the 14th position from John Boris. Another championship contender, the Merkel Racing Engines Ford Mustang. Going to need to pick up some spots here, maybe play some fuel strategy, see if he can get his name up there in the top 10. John Henderson in the 111. Beautiful looking number 111 car there. A lot of awesome graphic works. Look at Diablo graphics work there on the 111s. Joseph Morales in the Rockstar Energy Drink number 60 sits in 16th position. With Jason Adams in the DuPont, Nicorette, Pepsi, GMAC, Chevy Camaro sits in 17th. James Ledford in the Exalta Liberty University number 48 car sits 18th. Robert Jordan in number 74 is 19th. And the final car on the field, we saw him pit, John Boris. Currently one lap down in the number 86. We'll see how this strategy works out for him. He is going to begin picking up a lot of time on our leaders, however. Back up front, we got one car coming in that looks like Robert Jordan making his way on the pit lane. Almost missed his pit stall, but does just sneak in as he was about to go a lap down naturally on track. Silipinski and Kyle Heath are up front. Heath able to get around Sutherland there. He missed that coverage, but Kyle Heath has put his name in front of Isaiah Sutherland, now setting his sights on Gary Silipinski with 32 of 100 laps in to start chasing him down. A little further back, good battle here. Mike Peters, John Held, Gael Brooks. Nose to tail, side by side through turns 3 and 4 onto the front stretch. This is just in front, or just behind, of Maxwell Caldwell. We know Mike Peters has been slowly catching that group, and now he is there, but can he complete the pass? Seems tricky to pass tonight. You can get down on the inside, but not able to use all of the track up on exit. So you can't quite get out to the wall, and you see that advantage there. Mike Peters has to kind of pedal out of the throttle a little bit more than he wants to. And John Held able to hold that spot pretty strongly. Maxwell Caldwell now coming down the pit lane. So one of our first championship contender to make his way through the pits. So fuel strategy, tire strategy coming into play here. John Boris, that last lap, ran a 31.4. The leaders ran a 33.2. So about 2 seconds faster a lap. But when the leaders come and make their pit stops, then they're going to be much faster than the drivers that have already pitted. So it's going to be just how do you let this race play out? Do you run hard and get all the good that you can out of your tires and then pit? Do you try to save? Do you try to stretch your fuel an extra few laps each run and make it on just one pit stop? Going to be a lot to watch here as we start to approach pit stops. Good battle still raging on. Mike Peters, big time loose coming out of turn 2. Has to get way out of the gas. Loses 3 spots now. As we got another driver, Jeff Gilmore is making his way into the pits in the 57. Got his eyes. There's Gilmore currently sitting in the pits. Up front, Silipinski and Heath beginning to stretch their legs away from Isaiah Sutherland. Looks like Sutherland beginning to lose some time. If we go on board, you can see they definitely have stretched out a little bit further than they were earlier in the race. Lap time staying consistent, so I think Sutherland may have made a mistake at some point, lost some time there. He's still about 2 seconds ahead of Ryan Kelly, however, who is in 4th position. Kelly making his way into the pits, and I was just going to talk about this. One thing that we can keep an eye out for is as these drivers pull off, this could be something that a driver like Kyle Heath uses to an advantage. If he pits one lap earlier than Gary Silipinski's going to run slower. Kyle Heath going to be able to do a lap that's 2 seconds faster or more than Silipinski. He can use that to gain the advantage and streak ahead of him. So that might be something we keep an eye on. We'll watch. We know Ryan Kelly is in the pits right now. There he is, the 13 Dynaco car. He was sitting in 4th spot. John Boris making up a ton of time. As long as this stays green, John Boris is going to be able to really play this strategy well and shake out. Going to need it to stay green, though. If the caution comes out, that's going to absolutely kill the strategy of these guys that have pitted already. John Boris, Maxwell Caldwell, Jeff Gilmore, Mike Peters has just entered pit lane, Mark Brown, Ryan Kelly, James Ledford, Robert Jordan, all drivers who have come into the pits. Right now, if the caution came out, John Boris is currently the first car 1 lap down. So he would get the lucky dog. Everybody else would be trapped a lap down. John Held now entering pit lane. We saw John Held have a strong run tonight, sitting in about 8th position. As we watch our current leader of Gary Silipinski, who's starting to run faster than both Kyle Heath and Isaiah Sutherland. Silipinski a little bit looser. We caught that out of the corner of our eye. Drivers starting to make their way back on track. Here's John Henderson losing a lot of time to these guys. I don't think Henderson has not pitted yet, but it looks like he's having some trouble in that 111. Trying to gather it back up. Now watch this. Ryan Kelly in that number 13 car. Kelly on fresh tires. Look just how much faster he is. Look at this closing rate that he has on these guys. There's Joseph Morales. Drives by him like he's standing still. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The leader's starting to come in. Gary Silipinski locks up the tires. So Silipinski, Heath, Sutherland all choosing to stop on the same lap as we roll down pit lane here. This is aboard Kyle Heath's car. We'll watch him come into the pits, and then watch the battle off between these three. Oh, Heath misses his pit stall. We watch that on board. Kyle Heath misses his pit stall, has to regather it back up, reposition. That might cost him a spot. Oh my goodness gracious, not what he wanted to have happen there. We'll see if Sutherland, there goes Silipinski getting off a pit lane. Sutherland easily beats Kyle Heath out of the pits. But Gary Silipinski is going to be the big winner on that one. Really shook out strongly for him. As we saw Kyle Heath, we were on board. He slid through the pit lane, through his stall. And that just costs you a bundle of time when that happens. Maxwell Caldwell, driver who pitted earlier, may shake out to be the leader once all of this pit stops have completed. We're going to keep an eye on this. So Maxwell Caldwell, John Boris, Gary Silipinski, the top three, the drivers that pitted. Silipinski on much fresher tires, about 12-lap fresher tires than John Boris, about 10-lap fresher tires than Maxwell Caldwell, who we're watching right now. And we will see how that all shakes out. We're going to keep an eye on that. I think Silipinski is going to make up a lot of time on these guys as Chris Jabot may be getting ready to come to the pit lane now. He's on the inside. We see drivers going past him pretty quickly. There's one of our leaders before the caution, before the pit stops, Isaiah Sutherland. Going to need to make up some time. He's a couple seconds back of Gary Silipinski. Lost a lot of time on that last stop. We're going to go on board with Silipinski. That orange spoiler car up ahead is John Boris. Watch how quickly he closes. You can see the gap close down. It almost looks like John Boris has stopped and started playing the fiddle through turns 3 and 4. As Gary Silipinski going to make time up hand over fist here. But John Boris, he was way off the lead earlier. Now he's right there. As you can see, easily Gary Silipinski able to go around John Boris. That's for current P5. We'll shake out the VP2. Next car ahead for Silipinski is Maxwell Caldwell, about 3 seconds up the track. So John Borst, he may pit in about 15 more laps and see how this strategy shakes out. But right now, our current leader, Chris Jabou in the 83, he's playing the long game in that Exalta 83. Kitty Cat Chris, Gael Brooks in the Extra Life 71 coming to pit lane. Very quickly, Jabot may not have made... He may have been speeding. I don't think he made pit lane speed there. He was coming in hot. Sharp-looking paint scheme, but not so sharp coming to pit lane. We'll see if he catches a penalty there. This is our current leader, Gael Brooks, in second coming to pit lane. So this is going to give the lead back. Or I shouldn't say back. It's going to give the lead for the first time of the day to the Orioles number 94 of Maxwell Caldwell. It's going to be able to get a lap led here. Pick up some bonus points. Gary Silipinski will be in second, but Silipinski closing up the lap time very, very quickly. He's about a second and a half. Here's our picture. We see the one car in front, two cars in front is Maxwell Caldwell. The 24 is Jason Adams, that bright red car that you see up ahead. But we'll watch this gap close down right now, about 1 second off from Maxwell Caldwell in the Oreos 94. We're on board Gary Silipinski here, our leader before the caution flag. Or before the pit stops, no caution flag yet today. And look at him close up the lap time. He's made up a half a second already this lap. As Jason Adams starting to get racy on the right side of Maxwell Caldwell. But here comes Silipinski. Look at what these fresh tires do here at Atlanta. Big time move there for Silipinski. Down on the inside, able to just streak right on by a Maxwell Caldwell. Caldwell, though, he was about 7th or 8th position before that caution. Currently runs P2, so far, so good. This has worked out pretty strongly for him. So a little bit of a shakeup of the field. We got Maxwell Caldwell in second now. Isaiah Sutherland sits in third, but about 4 seconds off, 5 seconds off. Gary Silipinski, who's a lot of time lost on that pit exchange. Kyle Heath, a real big loser on that one. Now battling back here with Ryan Kelly. And Ryan Kelly may have had to come back to pit lane. He's currently shown 1 lap down, so possibly speeding on pit lane for Ryan Kelly. That's going to give the 5th spot to John Borst. But right behind him, a hard-charging Mike Peters is beginning to make his way through the field. So John Borst, though, he was about 13th before that pit stop, currently in 5th. So very happy to see John Borst able to make up some time on that pit exchange. Here comes Mike Peters in the Raising Cane's Ford Mustang. Championship contender, gained 7 spots since the start of the day, as we have reached the halfway point here on Green White Checker TV with the Area 51 Next Gen Cup Series. Yeah, John Borst not going to fight hard for this one. He knows Mike Peters has fresh tires. John Borst trying to play the tire strategy game, does not want to lose any time, so going to let Mike Peters roll on by. Now the question is, when does John Borst decide to pit? We know we can go about 45 laps on the tank of gas. So I think if he makes it to lap 60, he's going to feel very comfortable taking this the rest of the way to the end. But is that too early to pit for him? Is it better to wait a little bit longer? It's going to be something we keep an eye out on. And then how does this shake out for Gary Silipinski? 3-second lead right now for Silipinski. That's over Maxwell Caldwell and Kyle Heath. So big time lead for Silipinski, trying to get his first win of the season. So Isaiah Sutherland beginning to close in on Maxwell Caldwell now. Really closes up the gap there. You could see it on the acceleration out of the turn number 2. Down to the inside. Caldwell. Pets pass by Isaiah Sutherland. Back to the 2nd position. But lots of time lost to the field. Or I shouldn't say to the field, to Gary Silipinski on the pit stop. So Sutherland may need to try to pull something out of the hat here to make up that time. We saw Silipinski very aggressive but fast coming to pit lane. Good battle here between Mark Brown, Josh Arbro, John Held. Running nose to tail back, and this is for the 10th position. That's where a lot of the hot action has been so far. Looks like that's Josh Yarborough up into the wall there, just trying to rim ride it. Slaps the wall through turns 3 and 4, but keeps it straight. May have used that to his advantage. Not the greatest line in the world, but that really opened up the gap to the drivers behind him. Might be something to keep an eye on for later in the race. Kyle Heath now beginning to close up on the back of Maxwell Caldwell. Kyle Heath, we saw have that difficult pit stop. Really got in too hot to his stalls. We were on board with him when it happened. Slid through it and is now all the way back to 4th. Was running in 2nd, right on the tail of Gary Silipinski. Now he's about 8 seconds back, so huge loss of time. It just shows to show how important the pit stops are for these guys. Tires now beginning to equalize. Kyle Heath a little bit quicker than Maxwell Caldwell by a few tenths of a second, but I think we're starting to get neutralized here on these. We'll see if Mike Peters is able to get here. Peters about 5 seconds off of this, so this may work out well for Maxwell Caldwell. Puts him up to 4th position. If Kyle Heath can make this pass, this is for the 3rd spot. Caldwell has it. Heath wants it. Heath down to the inside, able to streak away there, and that's where those fresh tires really come into strong play. Just really able to get strong run into the corner and off and just start driving away from Maxwell Caldwell. Joseph Grijalva now on the outside of John Borst. Borst with those very old tires at this point. He's run about 30 laps on that set of rubber, and it is starting to wear out, losing a lot of time now on these guys. But I would expect John Borst to the pit lane fairly soon. Should be the first car. Initiated the pit strategy earlier. He should be the first car to pit lane when it's next to start the next pit cycle. So everybody's made one pit stop here. We're 58 laps into this race. 58 laps into the race here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Cars still under green and racing around the speedway. Take a look at their current running order. That's not our current running order. We're trying to find our current running order. We'll pull up there on our tower. We got Gary Silipinski out in front. We got Isaiah Sutherland, Kyle Heath, Maxwell Caldwell, Mike Peters, Kyle Brooks, Joseph Grijalva, John Borst, Josh Yarborough. We got Jeff Gilmore, Mark Brown, Joseph Morales, John Henderson, Jason Adams, Todd Merkel, James Ledford, Ryan Kelly, Chris Jabou, John Held, and Robert Jordan. 20 cars started the race. 20 cars still out onto the speedway. One driver having a good strong run tonight to 57, and Jeff Gilmore currently in 10th spot behind Josh Yarborough. These guys were able to get away from Mark Brown just slightly. And Gilmore trying to get his top 10. I believe it would be his first top 10 of the season if he's able to do it. So one driver we'll keep an eye on for the remainder of these 39 laps. Waiting for a driver to kind of make a pit stop here is where we're at. Field pretty spread out amongst everybody. Leaders, big gap for Gary Silipinski here. Coming up to lap Mark Brown. We'll try to catch it from the starters cam here just so we can get a visual of what this gap looks like. So Gary Silipinski coming out of turn 4 there. Todd Merkel, he's a lap down, that bright yellow car in front of him. Silipinski crosses the line now. And now we're waiting. Settling right there. Then we got one more lap car. Kyle Heath. Maxwell Caldwell. Lap cars. Mike Peters and Gael Brooks. Joseph Grijalva, there he is. Josh Yarborough, John Borst, Jeff Gilmore. Chris Jabou's a lap down. John Held, Mark Brown, Joseph Morales. Kind of gives you a good idea, a good perspective of just how spread out our field is here. And there's Silipinski. Is he able to open up the gap a little bit on Sutherland? Not really. Sutherland a little bit faster that lap, so Sutherland beginning to close up the gap now. Still 4 seconds off of Silipinski. Kyle Heath about 3 seconds back of Sutherland. So lead pack nose to tail before that last pit stop. But now we're very spread out here up front with the Area 51 Next Gen Cup Series. Jeff Gilmore beginning to approach John Borst. Borst on the inside, Gilmore on the outside. Borst going to leave the lane open. John Borst going to get ready to make a pit stop very soon. Just kind of, I think John Borst should be in the next 2 or 3 laps. I would expect John Borst to pit. And you could hear, if we go on board with the Borstinator, you're on board with the 86 of John Borst. Really has to pedal the throttle there. Gilmore able to really stretch it out. Borst trying everything he can here to get a good run through the corner. A good look. Here's Isaiah Sutherland at work behind the wheel. Sutherland, let's watch his car control here. Car looks really steady coming out of turn 4 and down the front stretch. Great looking shot. Look how smooth he is on the wheel. Isaiah Sutherland just barely turning that wheel a little bit at a time. As we head down the backstretch here at Atlanta, beginning to chew into that lead that Gary Silipinski has. John Borst now has entered pit lane. Borst, first car to make a pit stop. There he is, coming into his stall. Does he get it stopped in time? Yes, he does. So this is going to start kicking off the pit cycle with about 33 laps to go. Going to put Borst a lap down again. But hopefully he can make up that lap time like he did for several laps before everybody else pits. Jeff Gilmore now entering the pit lane. So a driver that's racing hard with John Borst back there a little bit further in the pack. Gilmore pulls it into the pits. Todd Merkel staying just ahead of our leader. Silipinski struggling a little bit with getting around the lap car to number 2. Last car in the lead lap, Todd Merkel. And this may be what is causing Sutherland to start closing in the gap here to Silipinski. About 0.3 of a second faster that lap. Merkel lets Silipinski go. That may mean a pit stop for Todd Merkel. No, he stays out. Thought he may be there, and there he is. I thought he was going to stay out, but he ended up coming into the pits. That's why he left that kind of big gap. Now, I think what Isaiah Sutherland needs to do here, he needs to be aggressive. He needs to come into the pit lane here and get in front of Gary Silipinski. Silipinski may be waiting for Sutherland to pit, but I think with a 2 laps here, Sutherland would be able to close that gap back up. And Silipinski maybe have a little bit of an advantage on tires once he comes back out, but it may be just enough to keep Sutherland right in that battle. So I expect Sutherland to be aggressive here. We'll see if he does it. Would love to see Isaiah Sutherland pit here. See if he can close up that gap to Gary Silipinski. That may be something Kyle Heath wants to do, as Mike Peters from 5th position has entered pit lane. Peters about 15 seconds off of our leader, of Gary Silipinski. Sutherland not taking advantage of the pit stalls that time. As we ride on board with Isaiah Sutherland. Up ahead now, Silipinski has turned up the wick, maybe getting ready for a pit stop here. See some lap cars up ahead. It wouldn't be a bad time to pull in with 29 to go, but he doesn't want to go in too early and let Sutherland get that advantage of the fresher tires. Top 3, back to Isaiah Sutherland, back to Kyle Heath in 3rd. Jump back even farther. Here's Gael Brooks, currently in 4th spot. Mark Brown, long ways off. You see how much farther he is back. Gary Silipinski, current leader. When will he make his final pit stop of the day? Picks the throttle back up. Isaiah Sutherland, will he choose to pit this time by? No, he does not. He stays out. How about Kyle Heath? Will he be a taker? Now, I think this is starting to become a mistake for Isaiah Sutherland. You're losing time to the leader. You need to try something here to get into the lead. Come in early, make a pit stop, try to catch Silipinski off guard, close up the gap slightly. But so far not taking advantage of the move. As Silipinski now, Gary Silipinski has entered pit lane. Silipinski locks it up there. Hopefully Gary Silipinski got that car stopped in time. Otherwise, that's going to be a heartbreak hotel for Gary Silipinski. If he picked up a penalty on that one, oh my goodness gracious, could you imagine? So Silipinski hard into the pits. We'll keep an eye. Now I would expect, here's Isaiah Sutherland. Does he try to run it long? He's staying in the high lane here. Cuts it way down the track and into pit lane. Let's watch Sutherland's pit stop here. Sutherland pretty cautious coming to pit lane. Kyle Heath coming in hot, and he gets it stopped in time. So I just want to keep an eye on Silipinski here as he exits the pits. Make sure he doesn't have a time penalty because he did enter the pits very quickly. So Silipinski is going to come back out. Should maintain the lead on this pit exchange. He was very far ahead of the rest of the pack, and it does look like he got that car stopped in time. Silipinski in the Furniture Row Cone Police number 78 car. Led dominant performance today with 25 laps to go. Back up front, Gael Brooks is our current leader in the number 71. There is Isaiah Sutherland unlapping himself. Gael Brooks about 20 seconds ahead of our second place man, Jason Adams, and about 23 seconds ahead of Gary Silipinski in third. So this may be a strategy play for Gael Brooks to try to stay out, maybe catch a caution, and catch a bunch of cars one lap down. We'll see how long he stays out here with 24 to go. He was one of the last cars to come to pit lane. He may be thinking maybe he can stretch this the rest of the way. Running pretty slow lap times with a 33.4 that last time by. That time by a 33.2. So Gael Brooks here in the number 71 Extra Life car. Extra Life, it is a program to help support the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Essentially, people play games and they raise money. So we got a bunch of charity races go on here on iRacing for Extra Life. Charity tournaments on a variety of other, as Kyle Heath comes up, makes the pass, unlap himself on Gael Brooks. Charity events and other video games goes on. And just a great organization to be a part of. Check them out, extralife.org. Here is John Borst also coming to unlap himself. So we saw John Borst, early pit stop now, able to get around Gael Brooks. So Gary Silipinski, we watched him close in the gap here. Gael Brooks is about 17 seconds ahead of Gary Silipinski, but Silipinski about 2 seconds a lap faster than Gael Brooks. Now that will fall off if Brooks does try to stretch this to the end. Silipinski is probably going to pass him as John Borst off the wall, hits the wall hard there for the 86. Caution is out as John Borst backwards. On the backstretch, John Borst. We're going to have to catch a replay of what happened there with the Borstinator, the Dizzy Coin car. Let's rewind the tapes here. This is going to change a lot. Here's John Borst, just gets driven over by the 47 of Grijalva. Sends Borst into the wall hard. And unfortunately for Gael Brooks, our leader, nowhere to go and gets in the back. Big dent on the nose of Gael Brooks' car. Gets in the back of John Borst. And that may have broke something on that hit on Borst's car as he tries to correct the car. And John Borst does his best pirouette that he can do. Yeah, look at the right front there, just shattered on the 86. That's why the car hooked to the right. And now he is just hoping that nobody catches him at all. Big hit for Grijalva there. It looked like Grijalva, if we watch that in real time, will try to catch this again from Grijalva's perspective. Yeah, Grijalva just runs up on the back of John Borst. And we'll go take a look at that in a second as leaders making their way to pit lane. John Borst, we know, is definitely in the pits. But we want to go live here. Here's Gary Silipinski coming down pit lane. Maxwell Caldwell is, Isaiah Sutherland, Kyle Heath. This is really going to shake up our picture here. Gael Brooks led them all to pit lane. This may work out well for Gael Brooks. That may put him out in front, if I'm not mistaken. He had a big lead coming into the pits. You see, he's already up on the right sides. Everybody else on the left. And Gael Brooks, yeah, he's going to come out in the lead of this thing, I believe. Gael Brooks easily wins the race off at pit road, so that strategy worked out for him. Mike Peters in second with some pit strategy. Gary Silipinski, Maxwell Caldwell, Isaiah Sutherland, Kyle Heath. This is with 19 laps to go. Grijalva, the cause of that last accident, comes out behind them. So let's see if we could jump back. I kind of want to go on board here and see what exactly happened to bring out that last caution. We don't quite see it there. Let's check it out from this angle. Here's Grijalva. Just accelerates into the back of the 86 of Borst. Sends Borst way up into the wall. I'll watch that in slow motion one more time. Here's Grijalva right on nose to tail is Borst. It looks like Grijalva picks up the throttle early, not expecting Borst to not pick up the gas pedal. We know Borst was on older tires there, and Grijalva just shunted the 86 into the wall. Yeah, not much else to say about that. Unfortunate incident for that to happen. Here we go. We can watch it one more time. Grijalva there, we see the 86, and he just chucks his race car into him. Sends the poor 86 car of John Borst hard into the wall. And then from there, nowhere for John Borst to go. We watch the car sparking like crazy here. Gael Brooks gets into a back of him, and that really sends Borst sideways. And unfortunately, the right front is just broken. You could see it when the car snaps around here. And Borst just not just along for the ride there with that right front shredded up like it is. And luckily, everybody able to avoid Borst as he sits on the backstretch. So let's reset the field here. Back up front, Gael Brooks with some strategy play to stay out in front will be our leader. A couple cars ahead of them are in fact a lap down. Field going to get re-racked here. All those cars, Jabot, Morales, Adams, Held, Merkel, will be able to roll around and get their lap positions back. John Borst might be involved in that as well. Lights are out on the pace car, so we're going to get doubled back up here. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a good battle. We have 15 laps to go, so I am going to ask you, who do you got? Who's got the hot shoe tonight? Is going to be the number 1 of Isaiah Sutherland. Will Joseph Grijalva put his nose into the game? How about Jeff Gilmore? How about Kyle Heath in the Memory Designs 54? How about Mike Peters restarting in the front row? How about Maxwell Caldwell in the Oreos 94? What about Gael Brooks in the Extra Life 71? And the Dominator, how about the 78 of Gary Silipinski? Will he be able to hold on to the win? Silipinski gonna need to do some work now. Two fast cars to get around. Pace car getting ready to make the hard left turn into the pit lane. We are getting ready to restart here. Green flag back in the air and big wiggle. Isaiah Sutherland loses a handful of spots there. That's going to be very damaging to his championship contention. Opens up the door for Gary Silipinski. However, there's Silipinski clears Mike Peters off of turn 2. Caution is out. We got one car stopped in the back. Looks like that's Mike Peters. Championship contender Mike Peters has brought out the caution flag. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's go back and see what happened to Mike Peters. Oh, off the nose. We just caught just the end of it there. Off the nose of Maxwell Caldwell. We'll go back and watch that again. Side by side down the back. Caldwell moves up the track into Mike Peters. Peters nowhere to go. Here it is again in slow motion. You see the drivers coming onto the backstretch here. Not sure who moved down there, who moved up. We're going to try a different look here. But that's going to be a big problem for Mike Peters, as Peters we see hard onto the inside wall. Let's go back and take a look from a slightly different perspective here. Here you go. We see Grijalva behind. That's not the incidents right here. Peters, man, it looks to me like Peters maybe came down, Caldwell came up, and they made contact, and tough break for Mike Peters, who is hard into the wall there. If we go back and take a look at this again in slow motion, and we'll just watch. Yeah, it looks like just kind of Caldwell may have came up just slightly. Mike Peters may have came down just slightly. And that, unfortunately, as you see there, just destroys the rear end of Mike Peters' car. See if we could go on with Kyle Heath. If we could do an onboard shot from Kyle Heath here. So here it is. Oh, and then Mike Peters catch the wall. I want to watch that again. If we watch this in slow motion, this will be the last replay we look at. Mike Peters, there he is. Watch that 95. Look for the sparks. Right? I think Peters may have touched the wall and that just pushed his car down the track into Maxwell Caldwell with nowhere to go. So not really the fault of anyone, unfortunately, for Mike Peters, though. That is a tough break. Now, if we look back up front, though, this is shuffled up the field quite a bit. With our second caution flag, 13 laps to go. So we have right now up front, we have Gael Brooks as our current leader in the 71 Extra Life car. Gary Silipinski sits in second in the number 78. Kyle Heath sits in third. That inside line worked well for Gary Silipinski last time. Can it work well for Kyle Heath on this next restart? Maxwell Caldwell in fourth. May have some right front damage there. Can't really see it too well right now. Off of the nose of Mike Peters' car. Joseph Grijalva. He was big time loose on that last restart, but he sits fifth. And Isaiah Sutherland may have spun his tires on that last restart. Lost a lot of spots there, but able to regain it and hold sixth position. So 4 of our top point contenders running in the top 6. And, man, I think they may have been probably the best 4 cars in the series so far. So getting ready to re-rack them, everybody here. See, the lights are out on the pace car. So we are going to restart here with, there'll be 11 laps to go. So about a 10-lap shootout for the win. Sid Lipinski, fastest car of the night, restarting in that second position. Kyle Brooks going to need to streak ahead here. Got to time to time this up really well. We'll see how it looks. We'll see what happens further back in the pack now. Everybody's getting a little racy here. That we're packed back up late in the race. Pace car pulls off one more time. And green flag is back out. Good restart for Kyle Brooks, able to streak ahead there as Sid Lipinski. Heath and Caldwell side by side right behind Gary Sid Lipinski. Caldwell up the track a little bit. Going to open the door on the inside. Nowhere to go, though. Gary Sid Lipinski and Kyle Heath almost contact as 1, 2, 3 cars go around past them. Grijalva not letting up, makes contact. More contact with Sid Lipinski. Heath, big time sideways. Does he save it? Yes, he does. What a gather it back up by Kyle Heath. Almost gets run over. This is really shaking things up as now we have Kyle Brooks out front. We have Sutherland, Caldwell, Grijalva, Gary Sid Lipinski back to 5th position. Sid Lipinski going to need to start putting some work in. Always an exciting night of action with the Area 51 Next Gen Cup Series. This night is no exception. Grijalva trying for some redemption from the past couple weeks of connection issues. Big time loss for Sid Lipinski and Kyle Heath on that restart. The big winner, though, Maxwell Caldwell up to 2nd. And if we go on board with Caldwell, this is what it looks like. Half a second behind. Kyle Brooks started in 2nd. So Brooks very, very quick tonight. Slipped up big time on the first lap. Dropped back to about 12th position. And now with 8 laps to go, holds the current lead. Half a second lap, a little bit faster than Maxwell Caldwell on that last time by. Fastest on the track, though, Joseph Grijalva in the number 47 Ford Performance Motorcraft Ford Mustang. Grijalva going to try everything he can to continue to close in the gap. He's about a 1/10 of a second faster than the drivers in front of him. But Sid Lipinski behind him is going to be driving very, very angrily. We saw that contact between Grijalva and Sid Lipinski that really got Sid Lipinski out of whack and up in that dusty stuff on the top of the track. So Sid Lipinski would do anything he can to claw back in and get back to Grijalva. We maybe have some payback on the books here if they can get close enough. Just ahead of these guys, though, we got Sutherland and Caldwell closing in on one another. Kyle Brooks starting to stretch his legs and drive away a little bit. Fastest car on the track that time by Isaiah Sutherland, and the Sutherland used car is number 1. We see Caldwell up the track, chasing it up the track. Here comes Sutherland on the inside of him down the backstretch with 6 laps to go. Sutherland and Caldwell, this is the battle for 2nd spot. As they do, though, Kyle Brooks beginning to really open up the gap on these guys. He got a 2nd and a 10th. 2nd and 2/10 lead. He was 5/10 of a second faster that last lap is Kyle Brooks. Side by side for 2nd, though. We got Caldwell. We got Sutherland. 2 drivers, 1st and 2nd in the championship, battling for every spot. Sutherland wants it to extend the points lead. He slides up the track, almost makes contact with Caldwell. That's going to open the door for everybody behind him. Here comes Grijalva. Here comes Sid Lipinski. Here comes Josh Yarborough. These drivers nose to tail with 4 laps to go as Kyle Brooks streaking away. 3 different lines as Sutherland now moves up the track. Caldwell way up high. Sid Lipinski on the bottom. Grijalva in the middle. Yarborough now starting to get a sniff at the top podium spots. What a battle royale here. This is for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th position. A lot of championship points at stake as it closes up. Some contact is made. 3 wide off of the corner. Everybody keeps it going straight, though. Look at Josh Yarborough going at number 77. Caldwell and Sid Lipinski now have fallen behind these guys. Now Grijalva down on the inside of Sutherland. Yarborough way up top along the wall, bouncing it off the wall, but a big run down the backstretch, nowhere to go with it. As all this is going on, Kyle Brooks is out in front by about 2 seconds. Grijalva contact with Caldwell, gets in the back of him. Yarborough up high, trying to get around Sutherland. Chris Jabou now in the picture in the Exalta number 83. Yarborough down on the inside of Isaiah Sutherland. This is for second position. This will be the best finish of Josh Yarborough's season if he can get this. He clears Sutherland. Here comes Chris Jabou out of nowhere. Kitty Cat Chris in the 83. All the way up to 4th spot around Grijalva. Sutherland now trying to close back in on Yarborough. Here comes Chris Jabou though. The Exalta 83 very, very quick in these late stages. Final lap on the day. Our leader, Kyle Brooks, is way out in front, but this is where the battle is. Yarborough, Sutherland second. Sutherland third. Yarborough in second. Chris Jabou going to try everything he can to get that spot away. Grijalva running the high line, trying to get a spot back. Going to drive it in hard into the corner here. Does he make contact with Jabou? No. Going to be a huge battle coming out of the corner. But across the line, Kyle Brooks takes the victory on the day. Sutherland in second. And this battle, Isaiah Sutherland, Chris Jabou, Joseph Grijalva, Gary Silipinski 5th, Ryan Kelly 7th, Maxwell Caldwell 8th, Kyle Heath in 9th, and John Held finishes in 10th. Wow, wow, and wow. Kyle Brooks may have streaked out to a finish of about 2 seconds. But ladies and gentlemen, that battle from 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th position. What a spectacular battle. Oh my goodness gracious. Catch your breath, sit down, take a break, have a sip of water. Kyle Brooks going to celebrate on the front stretch with some burnouts in that beautiful number 71 Extra Life car. And we are going to first have a conversation with our 3rd place finisher of Isaiah Sutherland. Sutherland in 3rd spot. Wow. Man, I am catching my breath right now. Isaiah Sutherland, that's going to be the first driver we have a conversation with tonight. Going to get him down here into the booth with his 3rd place finish. Isaiah Sutherland, this is Nick in the booth. You have a copy?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Well, Isaiah, I first want to ask you about the first pit stop there. It looked like you and Kyle, very close to Gary in those early stages, and after that first pit stop, you were way off. What happened there coming to the pit lane or in your pit stop that caused you to lose about 3 or 4 seconds to Gary?
Yeah, me and Kyle both, just stupid over our heads a little bit there. We both slid our pits there. So we had to pop them in reverse as quick as possible. And, I did it a little bit quicker than Kyle did. Unfortunately, he kind of got stuck a little bit. But, it would have been nice to be a little bit closer to Gary coming out of the pits. But, yeah, we slid our pits. Coming out, there was just a lot of traffic we had to work through that Gary had already made it by. So he definitely had it a little bit easier. You had to save your tires tonight pretty good. So Gary had a lot easier with that lead he had. He could just back off and save a little bit. So, meanwhile, me and Kyle, we had to try to race really hard to get past all that lap of traffic and kind of burn our tires off there.
Excellent. And tell us about that final restart. We saw you the restart before. It looked like you spun your tires or something, getting up to speed, but kind of regained there when Mike Peters and Maxwell Caldwell had their incident. And then that final restart, it was just a battle royale from about 2nd through 10th. Tell us what the intensity is like, trying to preserve, you're the current points leader, trying to preserve your point spot there when you've got guys all over you trying to make that pass to get up on the podium.
Yeah, it's hectic, man. To be honest with you, my heart's beating at my chest right now, to be honest. The restart, spun my tires. I think I was accidentally in first. There's a lot going on in your head in that point in time. it's racing time. It's time to go. And so I guess I just brain fog. I don't know. But I was first and was able to gather it. And thankfully, there was a caution because without that caution, I don't know if I was going to be able to catch those guys. We were all pretty quick, but caution came out. Started on the outside, which helped a lot. Um, got a good run coming out of turn 2. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if Gary got loose and got into Kyle a little bit, but I never lifted. I just thought it was a good opportunity to take advantage of, and so I just went straight through it, missed it all, and burnt my tires off. I think that's how Joshua was able to catch me. A couple of other guys, but yeah, burnt my tires off racing Caldwell. I mean, yeah, we'd like to get a win, but I know Caldwell was, also in the playoffs, and so at this point, if you think you can't get the win because Gale was so far out there, well then he's the one I'm actually racing, Caldwell. So we had a good race, a good battle. I knew I was quicker than him coming out of 2 and got inside of him, but the car is so tight, and it may look like I did get into him. I think in 3 I went into the turn, tried to arch it in there, and I did slide up into him just a little bit. It was a 0x contact. At that point, I think it's just hard racing. Well, we're battling for a championship here, and any chance you get to lightly touch somebody to be able to get by them, you're going to take that chance. So, I hope he doesn't take it in any bad way or whatnot. It's just hard racing. I know it's always me and Caldwell. He's a good racer and a good competitor, but I was able to get past him and hold him off, and it's a 3rd place finish, but in my mind, it's a win.
Yeah, a good performance there. Believe you will hang on to your points lead with the other drivers all finishing behind you. We got 2 races left. As we look forward to that, week off next week, then those 2 races. Before we get there, though, is there anybody you'd like to thank this evening?
Yeah, I mean, huge shout out. I got some family that watches, my parents, good best friend Eric, he watches, and I believe my teammate Kyle Heath, his nephew, he likes watching us a lot. So Aiden, if you're watching tonight, shout out to you, man. But yeah, huge shout out to my teammates, wonderful people at BFR. We have we support each other, we make each other quicker every week, and good group of guys. Lastly, got to shout out my sponsors. Got Sutherland Used Cars on the car. That's my uncle's car lot located in Union City, Tennessee. That's northwest Tennessee. Go to Facebook and search Sutherland Used Cars. They got a list of cars there, all at a good price, really good cars. They also have contact information there. So if you see that there's not a car on there that you want, give them a call. They have a lot more cars on the lot there. And then Virtual Academy's on my car. If you're a retired or active duty police officer and you want to take some courses, go to subscriptions.virtualacademy.com/sign up. Courses start at $69.99. And just tell them Isaiah sent you whenever you sign up for it. And lastly, you do a wonderful job in the booth, man.
All right, thank you, Isaiah. Good luck. Well, firstly, have a nice off week next week for the 4th of July, and then good luck as we enter our final 2 races of the season.
You too, my man.
All right, that was Isaiah Sutherland in the Sutherland Used Cars #1. Next up to talk to is first podium of the season for Josh Yarbrough. Let's get Josh Yarbrough in the booth. Josh Yarbrough, this is Nick in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes, I got a copy.
Well, Josh, I am just going to say it. Absolute god-tier drive on that final restart to get up to 2nd spot. Tell us what it was like out there for you.
First off, I have no idea how I pulled that off. I think I restarted, 10th? I was able to get my fresh tires. I was initially upset that, man, got my wave around, but I'm on old tires. But you know what? Got those fresh ones, so that's all I needed to get around. I think I got to a point where it went 3 wide between me, Gary, and Max. And, I mean, look, I'm not in the playoffs. I gotta go for some glory.
Yeah, you're one driver we've been keeping an eye on throughout the season. It seemed like you were getting progressively better and better, and finally rewarded with a strong finish tonight. Tell us a little bit, what is that like when you have those fresh tires? You know you're a little bit quicker than those guys ahead of you as because of that. What's it like trying to navigate that and navigating around these guys that are battling for a championship and separated by just a couple points?
Well, what was it? With it, I didn't think I had the best restart in the world. right off the green flag. So I was sitting back, making sure I didn't get in anybody's way. Started to see some people going down in the turns, going a little bit slower in the corners. I figured I'd take the middle to the high side and just full-fledged go around. And yeah, about it. Fresh tires gave me more confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we let you go tonight, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yes, this one has been a long time coming. First off, I'd like to thank my wife for letting me do this every Monday. Absolute rock that I sit on. And then I got my best friends, Ryan and Philip McMurray, Michael Ducharme, who's always in the chat, usually hitting it first, and our best buddy, Eric, who I guess decided not to watch today, but he can go back and watch the race on YouTube.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Josh, on this second place finish. Have a nice 4th of July holiday, and hopefully we see you up here again at Dover, Michigan to round out the season.
I hope to be up there as well. You have a good night and good call in the race.
All right, and that was Josh Yarborough. Finally, we are going to have a chat with our winner in the number 71 Extra Life Machine. That is Gael Brooks. Gael Brooks, this is Nick in the booth. Do you have a copy?
I got you, sir.
Well, first thing I want to talk about is what happened on the initial start there. You started in second, and then it looked like you were dropped an anchor there and fell back to about 15th. Was that on purpose, or was that a little incident that you had?
No, that was yeah. Everybody else was way more ready to go than I was. I was like, all right, like even on the green, like I mean, I had whoever was started 4th behind me, like they were on me. I was like, all right, I didn't get a good start there, and then just I just wasn't apparently ready to go right off the bat there, and then those guys were definitely wasting no time to get that track position because it was tough to pass. So yeah, no, that was just brain fade and kind of just mistakes on my part, and it took a long time to even get back to halfway close to where I was there. Once that happened, I was like, well, I'm gonna save some tire there. I was kind of talking with John and Chris. I was like, well, I gotta do something, so let me save. And yeah, it took a long time to try to get any sort of recovery there at the end.
Yeah, and then we saw for that after the first pit stop there, you really stretched it out long. And then we were able to catch that caution flag there when Krihov and Borst had their little incident coming out of turn 2. What's it like trying to stay out there and play that strategy? Maybe try to do just anything you can, just hoping and praying. I mean, how close were you on fuel there to having to pit?
I could have gone about 10 more laps, but it's one of those things, though. I mean, it was just absolute luck, honestly. I mean, it was kind of like the 2 weeks ago at Charlotte, the same situation where the caution came out after that long first run, and I was able to benefit from it. This was, the second time it came around. And the crazy part was all these guys' new tires, they started blowing by me. And so I saw a big pack coming. I was like, all right, I'm not going to pit right in front of them. I'll let these guys all go by. I'll pit here with 20 to go. And literally I told John, I was like, hey, I'm going to be pitting this lap. And so I went up high, I let him go by, I let the 47 go. And then, coming out to the 47 got into the back of John. And at that point I was like, well, first it was just, okay, I got to get around this wreck. And then it's like, okay, I'm definitely going to be hitting pit road, but then the caution was thrown for it. So I was like, well, I say that's the go and buy a lottery ticket situation after something like that. Because I mean, that everything just in that one just worked absolutely in my favor there. Forced the rest of the leaders to pit because they had all run 10 plus laps on their pit stop. And yeah, it was just, I couldn't believe my luck there.
And then finally, tell us what it is like there. Final restart, about 10 laps to go, and you're out in front, single file, all by yourself, and everybody else is racing and throwing haymakers at each other. I mean, you got to be smiling, a pretty big smile looking in the rearview mirror seeing that.
It was definitely a combo of watching the interval grow and feeling really good, but then at the same time knowing that's like, with 2 to go, I basically pushed as hard as I could, just trying to make sure I got to the white flag as soon as I could, just to avoid any potential of anything happening. Because as I say, we've seen in this league and other leagues, and of course in NASCAR itself, where say you might miss the white flag by just fractions of a second, kind of a thing. So it's like I didn't want that to happen to me. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna hustle this thing for this final lap. But yeah, no, it was definitely nice to see, because I was watching Maxwell. I was like 5-6 tenths, like kind of hovering there. And the same thing. I mean, I had been in tire save mode most of that race, so it was kind of having to learn how to hustle it, and but at the same time be careful not to kill my right front, because you definitely had to be as nice as you could on that right front tire, because it was a little bit rough there. But yeah, it was good to have some teammates too, because Chris Jabot getting fourth there. I was talking to him. I was mentioning to the guys behind me. He's like, "Don't worry about them. Just you run your laps." I was like, "All right, all right." So he was kind of keeping an eye on the storm there with me there at the end.
All right, we're watching you burn your tires down here in the front stretch and celebrate. Before we let you go tonight, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Well, I'll say as always, I mean, I got to thank you, Nick. I love that you've been able to kind of come on here with Green White Checker. It's a pleasure to have you call on these things. I say like I said, everything I hear is just such good things about you. So I really, really appreciate you. And yeah, definitely got to thank everybody that kind of helps me out here, obviously on the real life side of things. I'll say my wife puts up with me broadcasting, racing, and all that fun and game. And then also, of course, big shout out to my dad and my brother, who like to do a lot of racing with me, and definitely thinking of my dad. I say he's been fighting some health stuff lately, so hopefully he'll be able to kind of keep going after that, and looking forward to seeing him again here soon in a few more days. And then of course all the teammates tonight: John Borst, Chris Jabot. I was gutted for John there. He just cannot buy a break so far this season. But then of course all my PMS teammates: Don and Calvin and Tyler and Travis and Norm and all those guys, and Chris. Definitely want to thank them, and say maybe I'll try to start recruiting them over here, because I'm having a lot of fun these last couple of races I've done. So I think I might be onto something here, man.
All right. Well, before we let you go, just wanted to say have a nice 4th of July holiday coming up, and hopefully we see you in 2 weeks at Dover.
Yeah, no, definitely plan to be there. And yeah, I'm actually going to give you a holiday off here, Nick. So yeah, enjoy it as well. Like I said on my broadcast last night, I just hope you come back with all the limbs that you started off the weekend with. So have fun, but stay safe, man.
All right, sounds good. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and that was Gael Brooks. Now we're going to take a final look at our finishing order. We got Gael Brooks, our big winner tonight, over Josh Yarbrough, Isaiah Sutherland, Chris Jabot, and Joseph Grijalva, rounding out the top 5. Gary Silipinski, Ryan Kelly, good recovery for 7th. Maxwell Caldwell, Kyle Heath, and John Held finishes in 10th position. Jeff Gilmore, Todd Merkel, Jason Adams, Joseph Morales, and Mark Brown is our top 15. John Henderson, Mike Peters, tough break for Peters. Robert Jordan is 18th. 19th, John Borst, and 20th and final runner, James Ledford, Dave Bignell, and Joseph DeCiro, unable to make the call for the feature events. We now are ready to wrap it up here with the Area 51 NextGen Cup Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Next week, we have off for the 4th of July holiday, and we will be coming back in 2 weeks on July 11th for Dover Raceway. And our final championship race will be at Michigan on July 18th. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed tonight's action. And until next time here on Green White Checker TV, good night.